Listen Up would like to hear your thoughts. Building an Islamic center near Ground Zero is a right, but is it the right thing to do? You'll find us at listenuptv.com. And this is the location of all the controversy. Park 51, the proposed mosque and Islamic community center. No one here is accepting requests for interviews, but plenty of people want to talk about it.
I myself think it's very insensitive. It's not sensitive towards the Americans.
And it seems that there is something untoward about what is happening, and I think that further discussions and investigations need to happen.
I have a feeling that the planners are out of touch with how those of us who suffered feel.
This is a free country, so if the law requires every American is to have their freedom of religion, why not Muslims?
Welcome back. Listen Up is continuing its search for a peaceful way forward at the Ground Zero mosque controversy. To do that, we brought together two religious scholars, one representing Islam, one representing Christianity. Hussein Rashid is a Muslim, born and raised in New York.
Mosques in America serve not as places of radicalization, but of actually counter-radicalization.
Joseph Cumming is a Christian. He spent years living among Muslims in North Africa.
If we're truly filled with the love of Jesus, there are times you may lovingly say yes, and times you may lovingly say no, but you won't act out of fear.
They agreed to meet for some honest, at times challenging, interfaith dialogue. Hussein, this is clear it's become a much bigger debate than just should the mosque. It is becoming, can Islam be trusted to be a religion of peace? What would you say to that?
You know, Lorna, I think that there are a few issues going on. There's been a sense that by using foreign words in the way we're describing the center, because it's not a mosque, for example, it's a cultural and community center.
And a mosque.
And there will be a mosque inside it, but it's like calling the Jewish Community Center up on the Upper West Side of Manhattan a synagogue. It's not really descriptive of what its function is. And I don't think the debate is so much about can Muslims be trusted, because we'd never asked this of any other religious community.
But the difference is the sheer body count of 9/11 has left such a scar. There's so much evidence of terrorism done by extreme Islamic radicals. How do you counter that with the fear factor Americans obviously have?
If you look at study after study, and if you look at all the so-called American imams who are calling for violence, they've all been kicked out of mosques because they're extreme for the American Muslim population.
So we have peaceful New York Muslims making this community center and mosque project. What is to say 20 years from now there will not be a peaceful Muslim in the mosque there, and that it will not be a center for radicalism?
I think that while it is fair to ask that question, I would also ask, do we ask this of other faith groups? Do we go to churches and say, well, is this preacher going to come out and say, kill an abortion doctor? What I would like to see, and where I think that the planners of Park 51, this community center, have failed, is to really reach out to the Muslim community in New York to really have complete and total representation.
Joseph, you work on interfaith dialogue. What would the teachings of Jesus advise on this mosque controversy?
Probably the most important or relevant teaching of Jesus is one that's common actually to Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Jesus said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. He said that the second of the two greatest commandments is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Obviously that's in the Torah. He was quoting Leviticus there. And according to Islamic tradition, the Prophet Muhammad also said, your Islam is not complete until you love for your neighbor what you love for yourself. We should be trying to put ourselves in the other people's shoes and imagine if the situation were reversed, how would I feel? Well, if I as a Christian want minority Christians to have the right in majority Muslim countries to build churches, then I have to, if I'm following what Jesus said, defend Muslims' right to build mosques in a majority Christian country like America.
Do you think your Muslim neighbors have overstepped their bounds and the mosque is just too controversial to build here? Or should it go ahead?
I don't think controversy should ever be a deciding factor. If it was, we would never have ended segregation in this country. If it was, we never would have ended slavery in this country. If it was, we never would have had a Catholic for president. I think that we are a nation of laws. that apply to everybody, regardless of their race, of their religion, of their political affiliation. And it's one of the things that I would keep urging us to remember.
And those laws apply regardless of emotional consequence of a severe act of terror.
It is the very definition of what it means that no man is above the law.
Joseph, do you think the mosque should go ahead at this location near Ground Zero?
Let's imagine the situation were reversed. So shortly after the U.S. Invasion of Baghdad in 2003, some Christians wanted to erect a large cross in the heart of downtown Baghdad. They intended that to communicate a message of love and forgiveness. The Muslim community in Baghdad did not receive that as a message of love and forgiveness. They received that as a message of militarism and conquest. And I was among the Christians who said, I think that's not the sensitive way to communicate the loving message we want to communicate. Sure, we have the right to do that, but let's think about another way to communicate more effectively. And that's what I would say to Imam Faisal. What I will say next time I talk with him is, you have the right to build this center exactly the way you planned, and if that's how you want to go ahead, I will defend your right to do that. But I think that you will more wisely accomplish the goals you want to if you're sensitive to the tremendous pain that millions of Americans are feeling over this, whether they've been manipulated into that or otherwise it's the reality of the situation we're in.
When we return, my natural instinct to be suspicious. That's coming up in The Wrap.